There's a very interesting card on the zone this weekend here in the States and the zone over in Australia, basically all the zone territories around the world, where you're going to be having Devin Haney taking on Regis Prograis for the 140-pound WBC title. But on the undercard, which I'm actually growing really interested in, let me pull it up here, you are going to have Liam Paro taking on Montana Love. That is, let's see, it's so far, there's no type of eliminator listed there. So basically it's to get a higher rank. You have Andy Cruz. You have Ebanie Bridges taking on a late step in a Maya Yoshida. Who was the girl she was fighting again, Big J? Mathis, what's her name?
Avril Matthew was originally the original opponent,
Gotcha.
but she pulled out. So it wasn't all Aussie. It wasn't all Aussie affair, but as I stated before, it was just a bullshit fight. That fight that never should happen, which won't happen, which is good now because it was a bullshit fight in the first place. So it's actually turned out a lot better.
Yeah, all right. So before we get to that fight, let's start off with this. Let's start off with Liam Paro versus Montana Love. Liam Paro, 23-0 with 14 KOs. His last fight was last October against Brock Jarvis. He's coming off of an injury and he's fighting a Montana Love in an exciting fight. On paper, I would give this fight, before they get into the ring, as far as how meaningful it is, a 7 out of 10. Because the winner of this, if they look good, and it should be Paro, should shoot up high into the 140-pound rankings. And if you don't really know what's going on, let me break it down to you real quick. Ryan Garcia just fought this weekend in basically his official 140-pound debut, even though he weighed in at 143 pounds. He won via 8th round stoppage. And basically, he's got one of those, where he's at right now is, he fought Oscar Duarte, by the way. He is one of those fighters where he can beat anybody between the top 20, top 10 at 140 pounds, and he can lose to almost everybody as well, the way he's looking, my personal opinion. You have Teofimo Lopez, who got that pretty much dominating performance over Josh Taylor earlier this year to win the WBO title. You got Regis Prograis defending his WBC title against Devin Haney, who's moved up after being undisputed at 135 pounds. You have Rolly Romero, who's being called out by Ryan Garcia, the WBA champion, when he's talking about moving up to 147 pounds. And you have the IBF champion, Sabril Matias, who fought in a very exciting fight and made the dude quit, Agashev, a couple of weeks ago on David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade. So the 140-pound division is hot right now. And you got, of course, guys like Richardson Hitchens, Gary Antoine Russell, Jack Catterall, Ismael Barroso, who was supposed to fight Alhara Davies. Alhara Davies is the mandatory for Rolly Romero. So Sandor Martin. So what I'm saying is the 140-pound division is packed. Also, Michelle Rivera as well, who beat Sergey Lipinets, also on the undercard of David Benavidez versus Andrade. So this Paro versus Montana Love fight, the winner has to look spectacular to be even in the mix to fight any of those top, let's say, 6 guys I've mentioned, because all those guys can make more money fighting each other. Regis Prograis, Rolly Romero, Sabril Matias, Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, of course, even Jack Catterall, Alhara Davies. So in order for Montana Love and Liam Paro to be shot up there, one of them has got to even have a dominating social media trending performance, or basically score, a knockout of the year candidate for them to even be in the mix. Because as it stands right now, I don't see the winner of this. If they stay at 140, I don't see the winner of this fight possibly getting a title shot until maybe at least the end of 2025. In 2024, maybe early 2025, the way things are set up right now. Now, of course, you have guys like Devin Haney, who's talking about moving up to 147 to fight Keith Thurman. Regis Prograis, if he loses, don't be surprised if he moves up. Rolly Romero just this weekend is talking about moving up to 147 pounds. Sabril Matias can compete at 147, and Teofimo has been flirting with the idea. So there's a lot of different variables right there. But let me slow down a little bit and let's get Big J's thoughts on this fight. By the way, I am picking Liam Paro by decision. It just all depends on, I want to see how he looks. Like, he's got to be spectacular, or if he doesn't, he's going to slow down his progression towards that title shot. Your thoughts?
Well, pretty much I think you've nailed it on the head. I mean, as you said, the winner needs to win in spectacular. A statement needs to be made, and it needs to be made in spectacular fashion, or everyone's just going to go, okay, big deal. As you said, this is not a mandatory position fight for the WBC. Unfortunately, Paro was already supposed to have his title shot. I think it was back, when was it, September or August, that he was supposed to already fight before he got injured.
Yeah.
So you're right. He needs to do exactly the same thing he did to Brock Jarvis. He needs to do to Montana Love if he wants to get a title shot. So basically, he needs to walk in there and kick the shit out of him within a round. So
let's
and that'll get the attention of everyone going, okay, this guy's a real threat at 140. So
yeah, because there's so many in line, so many ahead of the line for him. It's for the WBO Global title, by the way. I'm not sure if that grants you a top 5 or top 10. I'm pretty sure it's a top 5. That title grants you. Montana Love is 18-1-1 with 9 KOs. Describe what happened in that Stevie Spark fight.
Well, Stevie Spark took the fight to him. Pretty much was rushing him from the start, and I think it was round 4, and Love decided that for some reason that he was in the Royal Rumble and just threw Sparky over the top rope and got disqualified, and rightfully so. I mean, everyone was up in arms about it, but the referee made the right decision at the time. It wasn't a legal move, and he got disqualified, and he was absolutely right. So,
and Montana Love had a nice little, nice momentum going after he had beat Ivan Baranchyk. I covered that fight. He was trending toward that fight. During that fight. Next fight against Carlos Diaz, he knocked him out. He was signed by Eddie Hearn. Didn't look so good against Gabriel Venezuela. And then, of course, the disqualification against Stevie Sparks. So he's got a lot to prove as well. But if I was to say, see, here's the thing. Montana Love can box. Like, he can box. But I got to admit, I've lost faith in him, especially the way he got touched up by Stevie Spark. Now, of course, if you don't know Stevie Spark for Tim Zoo. So, like, the dude's got some toughness behind him. But, my gut is telling me, from what I've seen from Liam Paro, if he's sharp, he should be able to get the win. However, I'm leaning towards Stevie Spark. I'm leaning towards Liam Paro, 55-45, percent chance to win. The winner, let me see. Let me look at the rankings here. Possible fights. You could see possible the winner faces Richardson Hitchens. Both of them are Eddie Hearn fighters. Both the fight would be easy to make. And Eddie Hearn recently has talked about how he wants to be more aggressive with his matchmaking. Besides that, maybe a Jack Catterall. I'm not sure if Jack Catterall is still with Matchroom. Somebody can let us know down below in the comments. And those are really the only real fights I see for him, or the winner that would really make sense. Closing thoughts on this fight before we move on to Ebanie Bridges?
Well, no, I think we've pretty much wrapped it up. I mean, I'm tipping Paro probably 65-35 in regards to favoritism. The winner needs to make a emphatic statement. I don't think a decision win is going to do him any favours unless it's an absolute clear victory. It's like, unless it's is this a 10-round or a 12-round fight?
Hold on, let me check.
Probably should be a 12-round fight for the global title.
It's 10.
10, okay. So the cards need to be, 100 times 90 by 3, for a UD decision for people to, it's got to be a dominant performance to get the win.
Yeah.
So scraping by the skin of your teeth is just not going to cut it. It needs to be a dominant performance. So.
Okay, take your time out, like the video, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at TstreeT Controversy. You can follow Big J at Old Mate Big J. We're going to be here this weekend covering Ebanie Bridges versus Mayu. Lord, I know I'm probably butchering her name. Yoshida, I can say that. She's going to be fighting the late step in. But before we get to that fight, quick hits. What's going on with Sam Solomon this weekend?
Sam Solomon is actually fighting in New South Wales again, fighting a kid called Alex Walters, and I don't know why this is allowed to happen. Sam Solomon has just turned 50 years old. Sam Solomon is 50 years old. Lost his last fight against Joel Camilleri. Now, we're familiar with Joel because he's been on the channel a couple of times. Lost to Joel Camilleri in the first round around this time last year. And Joel Camilleri is not known as a knockout artist.
Well, that's going to end ugly. This guy's fighting. His name is Alex Walters. He's 18-1 with 9 KOs, 25 years old versus a 50-year-old.
So he's literally half Sam's age. Yeah, a nice, young, fit, in prime guy. And Sam, who is 50, who has been around the block, he's been boxing longer than this young fella's been alive. I'm pretty sure Sam started boxing in 1997. So he was probably boxing before this young fella was even born.
Yeah, well, let's hope the guy doesn't get hurt. I'm guessing it's a club. Obviously, it's a club show somewhere. It's probably not going to be televised anywhere. No,
it's a club show up in somewhere in, I think, New South Wales somewhere.
Okay. And what happened with Alex Winwood, the 100 minimum weight prospect?
Yep, he won convincingly. UD, I'm pretty sure it was 100-90 on all 3 cards. Dominant performance. And his next fight is expected to be for the WBC title, because that last fight was a WBC eliminator. So
okay. All right, we'll be looking out for that. And Amanda Serrano has dropped her WBC title, citing that she doesn't want to carry the belt anymore because the WBC won't sanction 12 3-minute rounds for women's boxing. So which makes Sky Nicholson 9-0 with 1 KO. Her first stoppage in her last fight a couple of weeks ago against Lucy Wildheart, the WBC interim champion, now has an email coming her way. Your thoughts on that?
Well, to be honest, it was the only way Sky's ever going to get a belt, because if she ever fought Amanda Serrano, it would be over and over pretty quick. So I don't think there's anyone out there that's not a delusional. There's not a delusional biased boxing fan that wouldn't think that the second Sky got in the ring with Amanda would beat the absolute dog shit out of her.
Yeah, so it would be ugly.
I mean, yeah, it would be ugly. I mean, Sky was an amateur fighter who, was an amateur, nothing special. And as a pro, she's her level of competition has been mediocre at best.
Yeah.
I mean, she's only had 9 fights. But having said that, there's no, she hasn't even warranted a title shot.
Yeah.
And to be handed a belt because the champion has decided to give it up because of political reasons. Well, it seems to be the going trend. I mean, how many email champions have happened in the last even month? Boots being handed a belt.
Tank Davis has said he doesn't want his, but since Devin Haney vacated his WBA title at 135, he's got that email coming. He's probably got it, but he said he doesn't want it. But I'm sure his management team will convince him. So yeah, Zoo, Boots in this question mark asterisk around Tank Davis, Sky Nicholson, and I feel like we're missing one somewhere.
Yeah, there's probably a heap of them. But I'd like to give Devin Haney credit for giving up the belts, that he's not piss farting around like the Charlos and holding up the division. So good on him.
Yeah.
So I mean, the only real fight left for him at 135 was Tank anyway, and there's no reason why that couldn't happen at 140 anyway. So
yeah. I personally really wanted to see that Loma rematch again, but that shit is gone. That ain't never happening.
No, but you've got to give Devin credit for not holding up the 135 division.
Yeah,
Why
because he could have held on to him.
Yeah, so
Or
you've
at
got
least
to
a
give
couple
credit
of
where
them.
credit is due. So, yeah, I mean...
This weekend, you have Andrew Moloney returning against Judy Flores. What do you know about that fight?
Oh, well, yeah, it's a wild fighter card, which is a Will Tomlinson card, who's a former IBO super featherweight champion.
Mm.
It'll be in Albert Park in Melbourne, and it's co-promoted by Top Rank. Basically, it's just get back in the winner's circle for Andrew for a credible opponent, because I believe this guy, the Filipino Judy Flores, is 25-0. I believe, is that right?
No, he's 13-1 with 7 KOs. 25 years old from the Philippines.
13-1. Okay, 13-1. He was 25-0. That was a guy. That was a bloke that Alex Winwood. Yeah. So young fella. I think he's only 25. Just someone to get
Stay
Andrew
busy
back
fight.
into the winner's circle.
Well, them Filipino fighters are known to be tough. Let me see if this guy is ranked anywhere. Let me see if he's ranked anywhere. Just doing a little quick glance. No, he is not. Oh yeah, he is. He's ranked number 15 by the WBA, number 15 by the WBO. Andrew's number 9 by the WBO, and Andrew is not ranked by the WBA, but he'll likely take that spot. But yeah, he'll likely take that spot. And Andrew is also ranked number 6 by the WBC. So we talked about it before, but real quick before we move on to Ebanie Bridges versus Yoshida, the Maloneys can't say that Top Rank ain't been pushing them, especially their manager slash Aussie promoter, Tony Toji. You can't, they've been really getting their push, in wrestling terms.
Yeah.
They've been main eventing, getting title shots. And even now, Top Rank still hasn't dropped them. They're, especially Andrew, that they're still going. So you can see that Andrew obviously is taking a step back, fighting in, pretty much somewhat of a glorified club show. But at the end of the day, I remember us talking about that this is pretty much where he was going to go, and he needed one more fight to really prove himself. So he's gotta not just win. I mean, winning will keep his name. He will still be somewhat relevant, but it'll be good if he looks spectacular, and then they can start building him up, for one more final run. And they're 32 years old right now, and in those small divisions, yeah, you can fight until you're about 35, 38. I mean, no need to narrow. That was a different, he's a Hall of Famer special fighter. But in those lower divisions, you're starting to get up there. So hopefully he can look spectacular this weekend. I'll be looking out for clips for this fight. And then when we talk about Jayu Pataya's fight next week, we'll be recapping what's been going on with him, Sam Solomon as well. So last topic. Ebanie Bridges is returning after a year layoff after defeating very dominantly her Aussie rival Shannon O'Connell a year ago this weekend. So this weekend she's fighting on Devin Haney versus Regis Prograis, December the 9th. She defeated Shannon O'Connell last year on December the 10th, stopping her in fact. Ebanie Bridges 9-1 with 4 KOs. It just seems like she's had more fights than that. But coming off of an injury, she was supposed to fight. I keep forgetting this girl's name. Matthew. What's her first name again? Avril Matthew. Avril, right? With a V. Matthew.
Yeah, Avril.
Right. So she pulled out. Why did she pull out again? Was it an injury? It had to be an injury.
Yeah, that's what I got told. I don't think they really went into the reason why, but it was some sort of injury.
Okay. She's fighting the Mayu Yoshida, 35-year-old, 16-4 with 0 KOs. When we were talking about before we did the video, you were saying that you see her as a much more credible opponent.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she's Yoshida is a former 2-time WBO 115 super flyweight champ. I think she's had at least 4 world title fights. I mean, on paper, it's a far more credible opponent than Avril Matthew, because I think Avril Matthew had like 8 fights. But the problem is with Yoshida is that she's a blown up 115er, and she lost her last fight, which was only last month, to a what's her name? A lady called Metcalf, who I believe was offered the fight, but she turned it down because she said it was too short notice. And she was dominated. I haven't seen the tape, but by the cards, it was a
pretty much basically around the board, 8 rounds to 2 for the most part on average. One judge had it 94-96. But yeah, pretty much, she won clearly. Metcalf did.
Yeah, Metcalf won clearly. So you've got a former 2-time WBO champ stepping up to bantamweight. She's only had, I think, 1 or 2 fights at bantamweight.
Mm-hmm.
And she lost her last one convincingly. And I think it's going to be a very easy night at the office for Ebanie, because she'll get in there and probably just beat the absolute shit out of her.
Yeah. So, Nina Hughes, the WBA champion, 6-0. With 2 KOs. Nina Hughes Smith, she goes by now. She was offered the fight as well and turned it down. And you can't really blame these fighters, especially, a world champion, turning it down on short notice when you have, for example, Adina Thorsland, the WBC and WBO champion. Her team just won a purse bid for her to fight a Seren Seaton. That's the WBC mandatory, and we've both talked about that Thorsland is the best of the champions. In my personal opinion, I think you said the same thing. 20-0 with 8 KOs. That's the way. That's the fight. Me personally, I want to see Ebanie Bridges fight, but you never know with Ebanie because it looks like she's chasing the money. I won't be surprised, if she moves up in weight after this. Do you see that?
Seeing her moving up in weight.
Put it this way, I don't see her fighting Dina Thorsland for some reason. I don't know. I just don't see it. I'm not saying she wouldn't, but I just don't see it for some reason.
Yeah, well, they've been mentioning Thorsland ever since she won the title earlier in the year. But it's a matter of whether they can politically get Thorsland in the first place. And the other thing is that Eddie wants to keep Ebanie as champion as long as he can, because he's going to make more money out of it.
Yeah.
So, but as we've alluded to, this little OnlyFans lingerie bloody shaking her ass on the scales routine is starting to run its course, because everyone's starting to get sick of it, if not already completely sick of it. So
yeah, it seems a little burnt out now.
Her little bloody shake the bum routine on the scales, no one gives a rat's ass about.
Well, then who knows? I mean, because she's going to be doing it in the States this time. Let's see. I'm going to be watching to see what the reaction is going to be at the weigh-in. I know she's got something planned. Her big debut in the United States.
Well, it's not a debut in the United States.
I'm talking about her big debut. Pay-per-view card.
Yeah. Well, whatever she had was going to be hard, because Avril Matthew was exactly the same. She's got an OnlyFans page. And as I said, the whole thing was just an OnlyFans kilo fight, but thank God that got canned. So, yeah, that's.
So do you think
that's going to halve the interest? So
you think that this Yoshida girl has a chance?
No, I think Ebanie's going to beat the absolute dog shit out of him, personally. Okay. So, I mean, skill-wise, you would have Yoshida would have it all over Ebanie.
Mm.
You think she'd be able to. Use her movement and all that, because if you go back and watch the Cecilia Romero fight, she didn't do anything until like round what? The last 4 rounds she had it all over Ebanie. The last 4 rounds she had, and Ebanie has a history of gassing too.
Mm-hmm.
So even though she didn't gas in the Shannon fight,
she comes out fast.
Injured her shoulder. Sorry?
She comes out fast, Ebanie.
Yeah, she does. I mean, I think Shannon hurt herself again during that Ebanie fight. The first round she was all over, and then the second round she got clipped and she had no defense, and Ebanie just beat shit out of her from then on in. So if Yoshida can use her movement and her skill, you know, Ebanie's pretty easy to move around and, you know, outwork. As long as you don't get in the way of her power, you should be able to outwork her. That's what Cecilia Román did in her fight. It took her 6 rounds to do it, but she won the last 4 rounds easy. So
yeah, well, we will be here covering both of these Australian boxing fights, Paro versus Love and Bridges versus Yoshida. And of course, I'm going to be doing full coverage for the card. Devin Haney versus Regis Prograis, a $75 pay-per-view here in the States. If you don't have the zone, it'll be on the zone over in the Oceanic territories. But yeah, here in the States, it's a $75 pay-per-view. If you don't have the zone, or if you're paying for the zone subscription, it's going to be $60. You know, now me, even though I have the zone, I buy my pay-per-views through my cable because at least I always have them. I don't have to worry about having the zone to watch it. It's just a mess. But thank you for watching. Take your time out. Like the video, subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at TstreeT Controversy. And Big J at Old Mate Big J will be here this weekend. And you can expect more content on this card throughout the week for Regis Prograis versus Devin Haney. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.